Mr. Sama stay at quiet time. He will stay.
He will stay.
Until he's broken his head.
Correct.
Okay.
Because he's going to stay there as long as it's necessary for his hip to heal. So, until means as long as. And, yeah. So number 3, Ben.
When can Mr. Samas begin exercise again? As Mr. Samas feels stronger, he can start doing moderate exercise.
As soon as? Correct. In other words, right after he starts to feel stronger, he can start doing his moderate exercise. So as soon as Mr. Shamash feels stronger, he can start doing moderate exercise. A couple of words there. Moderate, you know what that word means, moderate? Moderate means kind of like medium, middle. If we were referring to exercise, we would say light exercise, which means very little, moderate, which means middle, or we would say extreme, which means a lot, you know. And then exercise. I'd like to hear you say that. Exercise. It's an X sign. Exercise. Exercise. Okay. Nat, you had a question.
Moderate is the same balance.
Balanced. Yeah. Yeah. Balanced means not too much, not too little. But in this use, it would be more correct to say moderate exercise instead of balanced exercise. Moderate exercise tells us that he's going to push himself a little, but he's not going to overdo it. Okay? So let's see, it would be number 4. Kat?
When Mr. Smith gets ready for his work, he gets ready as soon as N.E.S.C. arrives.
When does Mr. Samash get ready for his walk? He gets ready as soon as. As soon as. In other words, right after Almaz arrives, then that's when Mr. Samash will get ready for his walk. So one of the ways that we can remember which one is which is until. We can substitute, when we want to use until, we can substitute as long as. If we want to use as soon as, we substitute right after. That's the way to remember which is the correct one to use. Okay, number 5. Pip?
How long will Mr. Samas and Abbas take class until it is time for lunch?
Correct. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Chop, will you do the next for us, please?
How long will Mama stay with Mr. Samas? She'll stay still until Mr. arrives.
Correct. You got it. We're getting them all correct, so that's good. So let's see, it would be number 7. Tim?
When is Mr. Samas going to go to sleep? As soon as his sister leaves, he will take his medicine and go to sleep.
Correct. As soon as. When is Mr. Shamash going to go to sleep? As soon as his visitors leave, he'll take his medicine and go to sleep. Okay. Well, we did well. We ran out of exercises. So so when we start the next exercise, we'll start here and go this way. to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity. You're doing so well.
Appreciate.
Let's try another. We won't get all the way through this before we take our break. But, oops. Okay, we're going to learn proper use for when to use although, when to use even though, when to use but, when to use however, when to use because. And again, these are words that even English speakers sometimes will use incorrectly, but we're going to learn the right way. And we probably let's just do these first two. And then we'll take a break. Okay, so we're going to do although and even though. This is a grammar term. You don't need to remember the grammar term. You know, we just need to know that how to use the language correctly. But the grammar term is that we use although and even though to introduce what we call concession clauses. All I need to ask you to remember is that we use although and even though when we want to introduce clauses, dependent clauses, that give us unexpected information. In other words, the information that we get in the clause is different than the information that we're getting in the main clause. Okay? What we learn in the dependent clause is different than what we learn in the main clause. I'll have to show you an example. And also remember, anytime we have a dependent clause at the beginning of a sentence, we set it off with a comma, okay? If the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, we don't need the comma. So, here's an example of when to use although, when to use even though. Although I have been speaking English all my life, there are some words that I must look up in the dictionary. Referring to myself. I mean, even though I've been speaking English all my life, when I'm reading, I'll come across a word that I'll have to look up in a dictionary because there are many words. So, notice how in this clause, the first clause, the dependent clause, I'm saying that I've been speaking English all my life. But then in the main clause, I'm saying there are words that I need to look up. You see how the information in one clause gives you information that you wouldn't expect to get when you compare it to the information in the other clause. You would expect, because I've been speaking English all my life, that I know all the words. Well, I don't. You see, the information is different. So we use although and even though when we learn something that is unexpected. Although and even though can be used interchangeably. So it's just as correct to say, although I have been speaking English all my life, there are some words that I must look up in a dictionary. Even though I have been speaking English all my life, there are some words that I must look up in a dictionary. They're used the same way.
But the first example can use even though too? Although can use even though or not?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, we could use although or even though interchangeably. Okay? Yeah. It doesn't matter which one you use. But we use them. We use these when we're saying something in one clause that you would not expect us to say compared to the other clause. I'll give you, well, we'll practice some more examples in our workbook, you know. We'll practice some more examples.
Teacher, how to know when use, although how to know when use, even though it means that if the sentence has a condition, we use although and condition.
Well,
How to know when use although.
well, first of all, if I understand correctly, we can interchange these two words. Both are correct. Both are correct. I mean, you can use even though or you can use although, either way. But let me give you another example. Is there anyone here in the room that does not like real spicy food? Do you all like really, really spicy food? Oh. Okay, here's a good example. Even though you are Thai, you do not like spicy food. Because, see, I would expect that all Thai like spicy food because that's the way food is in Thailand. So I would say, even though or although you are Thai, you do not like spicy food. Even though you are Thai, you do not like spicy food. If the main clause said you do not like spicy food, I would expect her to like spicy food, right? But she doesn't. So the information in the clause